Clemson has hope for the future when it comes to talent. And today I'm going to switch gears from what should be fixed to the good things that, well, Clemson does have going for it. I'm going to dive into that in just a second. Hey, I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here on the channel. It's a beautiful wind. Okay, in the upstate, it's kind of overcast, but I don't mind that. I don't mind that whatsoever. I've always thought it was kind of odd that people would be like, oh, it's a beautiful sunny day, and you're working, you know? That's just me. Anyway, it's a beautiful Wednesday. Merry Christmas Eve, 5 months in advance. Just want to throw that out there to you. Today is July the 24th. If you're new here, yeah, I ramble like this from time to time, and I hope you'll subscribe and ramble back with me. It's easy, and to subscribe, it's free. So I do appreciate it. If you watch my show religiously, and some of you actually do, it really means a lot to me. You know who you are. You know that I am a guy who I get obsessive over fixing things because kind of my personality in life as it is that if the tire is flat, let's change it, right? And the car will never run to its optimal performance level if the tire is flat. Okay, that's how I approach things in life. I know that's a simple, analogy, but that's kind of the way I approach things. But even with this approach, we still have a lot of talent that has come in over the past year and who will play for the very first time for Clemson this 2024 season. And while the coaching staff is trying to figure out whether it's going to be, have a bunch of experts in the coaching room or whether they're going to continue to hire people who, has heard of Clemson, can spell Clemson, has possibly played for Clemson. I can't control that. I wished I could, but I don't want to diminish the players that I'm going to talk about and even players that I'm going to miss. So I'm going to talk about the players that I'm looking forward to seeing them play in 2024 and why it does give us hope for the future, that the talent itself could save us in some games that, if they were not there, there's a good chance that we may not come away with a W. So this is in no particular order, but I want to start off with, and of course, as I said, talent for the future. We know guys like Barrett Carter. He's a senior. I mean, he's a big deal. He has a lot going for him right now. The NFL, blah, 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 blah. That's really, his draft stock is going to be majorly dependent upon his performance this year. But I'm going to talk about guys who are, true freshmen, sophomore, redshirt sophomores. And trust me, I'll probably mess up and mention someone who's a junior or something like that. But let's talk about it. Sammy Brown. Sammy Brown was the highest rated player that we signed in this last recruiting cycle. And quite honestly, I kept waiting for him to decommit with everything that went on in the 2023 season. Fortunately for Clemson, he has a lot of ties to the orange and white. And that's one of the reasons that he and his hair decided to leave Jefferson, Georgia, and come to Clemson, South Carolina. The guy is just talented. He's one of those guys that when you look at him, you look at his hard work, you look at his playability, when you look at just his intensity and his focus, it makes you excited just to watch him play. And the good thing about him is he does have Barrett Carter there to be the leader on the team. So he's not coming into a situation. Too many times we see this. We see guys like Sammy Brown, who's so highly recruited. They come into a situation where they automatically kind of become a de facto leader when they're probably not ready for it. When it probably shouldn't be laid on their shoulders. So it's good that he's getting to work with Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter was a highly, highly recruited linebacker coming out of that successful 2021 class, top 5 according to 24/7 Sports. And when you see Sammy Brown's, just the way he plays, the way he approaches the game, it's just different. And so I'm really excited to see him get on the field. Just pause there for a second. You hear me complain a lot. You rarely hear me complain about the defense. And I want to highlight that. It's been the offense that's been our problem. So For me not mentioning Sammy Brown as much is not because it is not because he's unimportant. It's because I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about Sammy Brown. I think Sammy's going to come out, and as long as he stays healthy and he continues to learn and he continues to be a sponge with the experience around him, and the coaching staff on the defensive side of the football is really, really solid. I think that you're going to see a really good season out of him, to where he doesn't have to be Mr. Everything, but it gives him a chance to grow and then become that player who the nation is talking about week after week during college football season and the offseason. So I'm really excited to see this young man hit the field and play. A quick hello to Parker Henderson. Parker, it's good to see you, my friend. Oh, Parker and we've been friends for a while. Miss Chase, I need to call Chase. You see Parker has that symbol beside his name. He has been supporting this channel for a very long time. He supported me during the Bobby Durkins days. And Parker, I do appreciate it. I hope you're doing good. Rob Ellen, good to see you, Rob Ellen. Good morning. Good morning. Let's switch over to the offensive side of the football. TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco has been the talk of Clemson football. Now, once again, it kind of goes back to my statement about Sammy Brown. Sammy Brown is the highest rated recruit that we signed this past season, and he's one of the highest rated recruits we've signed in quite a while. With that said, everybody's been focusing on Moore and Wesco. Why? Because our offense needs help. It needs help really, really bad. So those guys have received a lot of media time. They've received a lot of praise, and for what they've done in leading up to this point. We know that TJ Moore had an amazing, I think it was is it the Army game? I always forget. I mean, there's a lot. Army, and then there's the other one. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, long story short, he did so well in that All-American high school game. I'll just say that that it really shot the expectations for him through the roof. And with his size and with his strength and with his ability, there is a great expectation for TJ Moore and for Bryant Wesco. And what we're really hoping here as Clemson fans, we know what we're hoping. We're hoping that Clemson will not be one-dimensional, meaning that we have to lean so much on Phil Maffa that Phil either gets hurt, or if you're playing a defense that has half a brain, their coordinator is going to make the adjustments and put the game on Cade's shoulders. And so to have these two guys come into a room with Tyler Brown, and Tyler Brown, I put him on the thumbnail, as well as Antonio Williams, even though he's a junior, to come in and give Clemson's quarterback more of an option, to give Clemson more of a chance if the offensive line can just improve a little bit. And the expectation for these guys is that we create another dimension. Maybe it's not our strong suit, but it would give the opponent something to have to step back and say, we better respect it. Or if Cade can just get the ball out of his hands in the general direction of TJ Moore or Bryant Wesco, they're going to catch it. And if you go back to that game against Texas A&M in our last national championship, Trevor Lawrence comes out and he throws the ball up to T. Higgins. Now, I want to say T. Higgins was a sophomore at that time, if my memory serves me correct. And folks, you need to remember, if you go back and you watch that, there is a certain amount of trust that a quarterback and wide receiver, they have to have, right? When I'm out, for example, when I'm outside throwing football with my youngest, he's 8 years old, and he plays flag football right now. And what's hilarious is we'll be practicing, him catching the ball and then turn around, going through his proper motion, throwing the ball to me. And, I want to balance, make it fun for him, but I also want to teach him at the same time. You know how that works, especially if you're a dad or if you're a coach. And what's so funny is having to get through his head, hey, The ball is not going to be thrown perfectly to you. Your job is to catch it. Your job is to go get it. And I think that too many times we forget that a wide receiver is on scholarship, and nowadays being paid a lot of money in the college game to go up and get the football. And so as much heat as Cade has received, and I've taken up for Cade, and I've talked about development and coaching and not being set up for success. I've talked about that ad nauseum. So this is not really at Cade. Your wide receivers have to go up and get the football, especially at this level of play. And love or hate Ohio State, over the past few years, their wide receiver room has been absolutely sickening. And those guys go up and get the football. So what I'm looking forward to see is if Wesco and TJ Moore can offer more of an option for the Clemson offense, to where the defense, no matter who they are, have to respect, hey, they may be true freshmen, and us as Clemson fans need to temper our expectation, okay? Don't try to put the poor decisions and the poor coaching hires and the poor development on these two boys' shoulders. That is unfair to them. Put it on the men who are paid a lot of money to, make the proper decisions and develop the players. But we can have an expectation that these guys are going to come in and offer us another dimension that makes it more difficult to play Clemson's offense. And it gives the defense more of a chance, something to work with. Seeing points go up on the board versus moving the ball and finish the game with almost 400 yards plus of offensive production, but the scoreboard doesn't say that. So hopefully we can see that. I'm really excited to see them because that's a really, really big deal. And staying on the offensive side of the football, I mentioned that I put Antonio Williams in here. Last year he was really, really banged up. And it really robbed him of a season. It really, really did. And so I'm looking forward to see that if between the injury and basically losing last season in a lot of ways, or having to play banged up when he did play, I want to see if that created a hunger in him to where he comes out and he really shows out. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Of course, Tyler Brown, one of the feel-good stories in not only Clemson football, but in college football, he really made a name for himself. When a guy who was, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, a last-second offer out of Clemson, Clemson offered him, and Tyler Brown is out of Greenville, South Carolina. I live in the general area, and I can tell you, I really don't keep up with high school football in the state of South Carolina unless like they're major teams, like consistently major teams. And a lot of people likes to pick at Daniel football and joke about it because we know the Daniel joke. If you played at Daniel, you can come play at Clemson, whether you should be playing it at Clemson or not. Let's pause there and just remember that Nuke Hopkins and Shaq Lawson and Jarvis Jenkins, those guys did come from there. And so we want to show respect where respect is due. But I get the argument, and trust me, I've face palmed at some of the people I've seen allowed on the team. But leave that there. I'd never really heard of Tyler Brown, and Greenville High School, they go up and down of whether they're good or whether they're bad. And so to see this guy from, 20 minutes, 25 minutes from where I live, not only end up on the team, but come out, hit the field, and put on a clinic at times, and this was a 3-star recruit, it really made me feel good. And I'd like to see him have a really good season this year, and because of the talent around him, and hopefully Antonio Williams is playing at 100%. And of course, these new players, Wesco and TJ Moore, I'm hoping that will end up opening up things for him to where people have to respect these other players. It gives him more of an opportunity. Now, probably what's going to happen is when Antonio Williams and Tyler Brown walks out on the field, God forbid there's injury, the defense are going to key on them because they're the most experienced players. And So hopefully that balances itself out as well with the freshmen. But I'm really looking forward to see Tyler Brown play, and this should give us hope. This should give us hope that while the coaching decisions and the coaching hires, and then giving Matt Luke time to retool and retrain his offensive linemen, whether they're underclassmen or whether this year will be their last year at Clemson, um, it will give it will it will make up for the deficiencies. So I'm hoping that that will happen. You know me, I don't like hope as a strategy with a game. Uh, uh, some people start misplacing hope. We need hope when someone's sick and dying. We need hope when there's no money to pay the bills. This is a game. It's a strategy. Okay. I think one of my viewers hit me up and said, "Hey, there's a lot more important things going on in the world," and that's true. This is a game of strategy, and it can be a game of inspiration and emotion. But at the end of the day, the person who has the better strategy a lot of times wins. And right now, Clemson is trying to clean up some of this poor development and some of the poor strategy, quite frankly, that we've seen over the past few years, that's taken them from a team that if you had to play them, you were scared, even if you told yourself you were not, to a team now you believe you can beat if you're a good football team. So, again, for anybody who's about to get upset about that, go check out my video on Matt Luke. I'm very happy. I just posted a video, I think it was 2 days ago, about Matt Luke, and I was just unbelievably impressed by his answers to the press. It was genuine. It was constructive, and it tempered expectations to say, yes, there's progress, but we're not there yet. And I like that. I can work with that. I can believe in that. Now, if we get 3 years down the road and that's still the same answer, we get 2 years from now and that's still the answer, unless the injury bug has bit the room, okay, now we have a problem. But with Matt Luke, I don't foresee that, because he's one of the best at what he does, and I think he's one of the best position coaches, period, in college football, and we're fortunate to have him at Clemson. Let's get back to the players. The reason I went off on that tangent is because while these things are being cleaned up, the natural talent of these players and the hard work they put into it will give us a chance. And then, of course, you combine it with senior, probably redshirt senior, if my memory serves me correct, Phil Maffa. That gives Clemson, more of a chance for this year, and then it builds for the future. Now, there's a running back on the team who was signed in off season. I won't even butcher his last name, but his name's I just call him David Easy. And there's a lot of hype and excitement around him and what he could bring to the team. And it's always nice to see someone like him work with a guy like Phil Maffa and be able to play in that system with a guy like him, so he can step back and look at him and say, hey, I know how you feel. Oh, this is how I, see where the running lanes are. I'm patient. I can only be so patient for so long. I know when to hit the gap or when to create a gap. Phil Maffa is very good at creating a gap. But all running backs, they're different. It's according to their speed, their size, their strength, and so on. But it will be exciting to see David play as well. Let's switch back over to the defense. Let's talk about the defense for a moment. Peter Woods had an outrageous season last year. The guy is, once again, someone that is just a given that he and TJ Parker are just going to come out and they're going to do business, And I understand why certain coaches make their players, they make them dress up in suits, which basically a lot of them do before ball games, everything. Like we're here for business. But really, when you look at Peter Woods and you look at TJ Parker, dress them up, put a top hat on them, give them a cane. I mean, these guys are there for business, and they're going to walk out doing their job, win or lose, and you're going to know that you played them. And that's extremely exciting for the future because they're both sophomores. And that they are taking on this role, especially after Tyler Davis, after being at Clemson for ever. Guys like him and Rook are gone. They had TJ and Peter had their time with those guys, and I think it was extremely valuable. But they're different. They're just different. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing them coming out and establishing themselves as a lead along the line, and not only at Clemson, but in college football. So I'm really excited to see them play, and I'm really excited to see their disruptive, violent disruption that they can bring. And when you have one of those guys, it can be a problem. When you have two of them, it gives you hope in games that, like I said, while the offense is trying to figure out, work stuff out, these guys are creating opportunities that would otherwise not be there. And so I'm really excited to see them. Let's talk about some of the guys that were signed in the offseason. And let's start out with Khalil Barnes. Now, he was not signed in the offseason. I want to jump back to this before I move on to some signees like Tavoy Fagan. Khalil Barnes really showed out last year. He's a sophomore. This guy he's going into his sophomore season. And in the spring game last year, in the 2023 spring game, Khalil Barnes came out and said, "Hello, everyone. I'm here. I know you have Nate Wiggins over here. I know you have Jeremiah Trotter. I know you have Peter Woods down there on the line and TJ Parker, and everybody's looking forward to them. But I just want to let you know I am here. I am going to play lights out. And when you leave here today, you're going to be asking yourself, who is that Barnes guy? Because he's unbelievable." And game in and game out, Khalil Barnes did this. Game in and game out, Khalil Barnes gave Clemson a chance to be in ball games. The South Carolina game. Let's talk about the South Carolina game. Clemson did not play very well in that game. They won 16-7. I'll take a win over the Gamecocks any day of the week. It was a rather boring game, except for Khalil Barnes. A true freshman had the vision and the reaction time. A lot of us forget reaction. When you get to this level of football, if you have to stop and think about what to do, you've missed your opportunity. And in other cases, you get your head knocked off. You end up in the injury town, So this guy had not only athletic ability. There's a lot of guys who has athletic ability. And I'm not going to drop names right now, but there's guys who across the country who has athletic ability, but they don't have the sense to go with it. They don't have the reaction time. They don't have the judgment skills. That's not the case with Khalil Barnes. Khalil Barnes, notice that ball went backwards. Now, it wasn't like obviously all the way back, but it was backwards. And what does he do? Without hesitation, runs through, picks it up, takes it to the house. He was right. Turns around, has that incredible athletic interception. Now, he did way more than that, but those are some of the takeaways, some of the thoughts, some of the production that Khalil Barnes had last year. You gotta remember, he finished the season with 3 interceptions. This guy had 41 tackles last year. He had 1 sack. So he brings something to the team that Clemson needs. Like, you need Clemson, especially while the offense is working out things, you need guys like him who are opportunists. They're going to swing in there and they're going to take the ball away, right? They're going to step up in the gap and appear out of nowhere and intercept the ball and give the offensive unit a chance to score, if not take it to the house himself. So I'm really excited to see Khalil Barnes play this season. Because that was just a great, it was just a great performance. Now let's talk about some of the signees. And I know I've missed someone here, and someone's going to be, you don't know your team and you're not a fan. Okay, great. I'm not a fan. You got me. Caught me. Arrest me. Let's see. Now, Corian Gibson was the highest rated defensive back that we signed last year. 6'1", 175. This guy can play. I'm looking forward to seeing him hit the field. Ricardo Jones is a safety, 6'3", 200 pounds. That guy's a very hard hitter. Looking forward to seeing him hit the field. Heaven Brown Schuler, 6'4", 295 pounds, defensive lineman. He's probably gained weight since these numbers came out. Tavoy Fagan. Tavoy Fagan is the spring game 2024's. It's the Khalil Barnes of 2023. You know, a freshman comes in to it's a glorified practice. We know what the spring game is, but you have a lot of people in Death Valley. You're playing in Death Valley before the public, the fans, and the critics. And instead of being overwhelmed by the moment or seemingly trying too hard, Tavoy Fagan came out, had an interception, could have had 3. And when you see a guy put himself into a position to make a play right off the bat for the first time in front of everybody, that should get your blood flowing. That should get you excited that we have someone like him that doesn't have to come in and be the hero. It's kind of like what I was talking about with Sammy Brown. Sammy Brown has Barrett Carter. Tavoy Fagan, let's look at him. Tavoy Fagan has R.J. Mickens as a safety. You know? He has Khalil Barnes around him, who plays that, kind of linebacker, defensive back hybrid. I mean, he has Avion Durrell, which I know is a sophomore. I'm looking forward to seeing him play this year. That guy really did well last year. I haven't even mentioned him. And I told you I'm going to miss some people. But Tavoy Fagan does not have to be Superman. He doesn't. Which is exactly what you want. You want these guys to be able to come out and have their moment without having to have every moment. They grow. Growth is a process. And some guys grow faster than others. Some guys grow slower than others. I know this is like obvious, but I'm just saying you want this guy to be in a place to where if he's having an off game, it doesn't cost his team the game. And in turn, it cost him mental wear and tear. Sometimes you got to strap on your boots and you just got to go for it. Okay, I get that. But the more and more you don't have to be in that position, the greater chance that you're going to grow that player. They're going to become mature. They're not going to mature too quick. And it gives them chance for personal growth. I'm going to close this down here. I'm just name out a few more names. And folks, I know I probably have missed a few. Please bear with me there. There's so much information. There's so many things to think about. Darian Mayo, he came into the program. This guy's a defensive lineman, 6'7", 250. I mean, the guy, he's one of those cats that can just jump up and knock down the ball. There's other players that's come into there. I'm just going to stop there. Come into the program, and I'm looking forward to seeing them play as well. But those are the ones that really jumped out to me. And folks, this is what I want. This is what I really, really want. I am hoping that Clemson truly does progress and grow through the season. And no matter what happens in the Georgia game, and I don't feel good about it at all, but I'm not going to, I've talked about that enough. I'm going to talk about this now, is that Clemson says, no matter what happens in the Georgia game, I'm going to come out. I am going to play. I'm going to grow game in, game out offense and defense. And by the end of the season, you're looking at a team that has grown versus a team that might have even had an upset here and there, but overall it was a schizophrenic season. It was like, was that the same team playing here and team playing there? Because when you see those scenarios, and I've talked about this before, when you see scenarios where you upset a team that you had no business on paper beating, but you turn around and you lose to a team or a couple of teams you had no business losing to, that is what created the whirlwind during the Tommy Bowden days. You just beat Florida State, but you can't beat Duke. You remember this season, Clemson beat Miami and Coral Gables, turns around and loses to Duke and Durham like the next week. That is hard to get the team to pull together and get mentally on board. That is very difficult to continue to recruit well and convince people, yes, we're on the up. Well, hold on. If I'm a parent, if I'm a guardian, or if I'm a coach of one of these players, I'm going to look at Coach Sweeney and I'm going to look at his recruiters and say, hey, listen, it looks like your team has no consistency. And so while NIL and while, money and playing time is a big deal, and it is the biggest deal, I get that. When your team wins the games they're supposed to win some of the games they don't supposed to win, or win the toss-ups, and when they're supposed to lose, they play really close, and the other team's like, what just happened? Folks, I'm telling you, that is the marks of a team that's going up versus declining. And so I believe these players that I've named out and some of the ones that I've missed, I believe these players could give us that chance to bridge the gap until some of these things that I've been harping on, and I will continue to harp on until they are completely fixed, right? So anyway, leave your comments below. Let me know who you're looking forward to see. I'm really excited about seeing some of these players, even though I'm irritated about some of the things I've seen go on. These players I've named out, and even some of the ones that I missed, they're unbelievable, and they're extremely talented, and you will see them have big plays. You see them have big moments. Barring injury, you will see them because they do have a lot of talent. Let's get in here and say hello. Let me see. Douglas Spencer, good morning from Yuma, Arizona. Douglas, throw in the comment section. Let me know the temperature out there in Yuma. We do have a solid HVAC2 to help with workload. Yeah, I think you're talking about Keith Adams Jr. Yeah, you're right. The guy can run. He kind of gets overshadowed with Phil Maffa. Just whipped Georgia first game. Yeah, Steven. I hope so, but just give that to the Lord. Slim Shady Canes, my old buddy. It's been a long time, Slim Shady Canes. Ahoy to you. Shane Bentley. Shane is a member. You see that symbol there? Hey, ladies and gents, have y'all had a chance to play the new college football game? It's nostalgia overload. Yes, I'm having to get used to the controls. It's totally weird. But you are right. And my oldest has been, he's playing nonstop. So I'm even thinking about doing some of the Sims on here and just talk about it as it's playing because it's fun. SEC, dog. Is this the same defense that gave up 35 points to one of the worst offenses in the SEC? Didn't even force a field goal. Well, they looked uninspired in that ball game. But overall, for the season, they did all right. Merck City, the pups from Athens, Will. Merck City, it's good to see you in here. 98 degrees at 725. Same, I'll be honest, I had to switch back to traditional passing. Really? You can switch back to traditional passing? That shows how old I am, dude. We smacked Georgia in college football 25. I bet so. Oh, man. Anyway, hey, listen, if you want to support the channel, hold on real quick. Shane, yeah, LOL in the settings? What is this voodoo I didn't know about? You just made my day. Also, I'm showing the gray in the side of my side. Okay, it's in my beard, too. You can see me up close. Some of it, with the light coming in, because I have a window right here, you maybe can't see it. Maybe you can see it. I don't know. But I'm showing the gray in my beard and my sideburns by talking about the traditional settings. Anyway. But the run game, I will tell you this. What little bit of running that I did with Phil Maffa, even against Georgia, unbelievable. But I just couldn't get used to the passing controls. I say I'm gonna have to work on that. But I know I do the show and stuff, but I work from home and I have a meeting here in just a moment. And I do work and I do have a life. So, with that and family and everything, my youngest is playing basketball. I'm always busy. I do want to tell you this. Somebody sent me a really creepy message the other day, and there's like, yeah, I'll see you at and they filled in that they said where my son plays basketball. So apparently someone at this facility knows that I do the show, but they've never walked up and spoke to me. And I see people out all the time who's like, hey, I saw you on Clemson Football Live, or hey, I saw the Bobby Durkins bit. And I'm like, it always kind of shocks me because, I'm not Josh Pate. I'm not Kirk Herbstreit at all. But it's just funny to meet people. But this person told me where they had just saw me or that they would see me there. And so when I go to this facility, I'm looking around going, I wonder who it is. Great way to be creepy. But if you watch this, come up and speak to me. Let's go ahead and kill the wonder. I do want to tell y'all this. I want to tell you this, and I swear I'm going to shut up. Insert the Joe Dirt dang gif after hearing that. Yeah. I went into the athletic shop in Clemson, South Carolina. I was visiting family, and I stopped into the athletic shop there on 123. And everybody knows where it's at. So I got out of the car, had my son with me, and there was a guy with his family standing out there. And this guy stared at me, like stared hard. And I'm walking in there, and in my head, I'm like, he's staring at me really hard. And I was like, well, I'm the only person right here. But no, it wasn't. It was more than, hey, I look up and I notice you're walking across there and everything. No, he was staring at me, and there was such disdain in his eyes for me. And I started smirking, and I walked on in, bought what I was going to buy, and I walked out. And the guy still standing out there with his family, and he's just like, I got in the car, I looked at my wife, and I said, there's one of my fans out there. Oh, I could tell the guy hated my guts. He had seen my show. He just absolutely despised me. I thought it was funny. So, anyway, folks, you take care of yourself. Tell me who you're looking forward to see play in this upcoming season. It's always good to be a Tiger. Go Tigers.